Hey guys, this is Zane and Bailey. We're doing this is part 2 of the same day. Before we talked a bit about Monster House before Bailey watched it, or
Yeah,
not for the first time, but for the first time in a really really long time.
almost the first time.
So now we're at part 2, and I don't have to do a bunch of rambling beginning stuff. We watched the movie like 2 hours ago, but got distracted watching other stuff.
Yeah, we watched other stuff after, but that's all right.
Yeah. So, what are your initial thoughts on the movie?
Thoughts?
Yep.
I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. It wasn't just like I mean, it was a goofy family movie, of course, but like there was more to it than that. But then you could also see that it was just like kids show kind of thing. Like it really was like, like horror movie for kids, if you will. Wasn't really scary, but like I can see why it scared me when I was younger.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, and I think they did a good job. There's a lot of stuff that they wanted to put in, but they didn't want to risk the PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
the person wanted to lean a lot more towards making it actually scary. But if you don't want your first movie to potentially flop as a PG-13 horror movie, then it doesn't quite.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yeah.
What? Oh, who are some of your favorite characters? I wouldn't say like, if you have just one, that also works. But sometimes it's hard to narrow it down to just one.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I kind of, it was my first time watching. I don't know all the names super well. I mean, Mr. Nevercracker actually, like, even like pre-good guy and post-good guy, Mr. Nevercracker was just entertaining, and he always seemed like he had lots to him. Even at the beginning, it didn't seem like he was just scary old man. Like, I don't know. You
Yeah.
could see and hear the desperation when he's like, "Get off my lawn." It wasn't just annoyance. It was like, "Dude, get off my lawn." Um, and yeah, I liked his he was good. Um, Bones was funny.
Yeah. Cameron also mentioned Bones as being like one of his favorites, which is really funny.
Yeah,
That's like 2 for 2.
yeah. There we go. I liked Bones. Although I didn't like when he ripped up um DJ's toy.
Yeah, that was a little
I,
bit over the top.
that was mean. That was the scariest part of the whole film, honestly.
The most real part of the whole movie
I was
is
like, oh, that's just sad. That's just actually sad.
when your babysitter's boyfriend ruins your stuffy. It was never nothing was quite the same after that.
Yeah, when my wife's boyfriend ruins my stuffed animal. Yeah.
And then I have to sleep outside.
Yeah.
So you Bones and Mr. Nevercracker are your favorites?
Yeah. I'm gonna lock it in with those two.
All right. What are your thoughts on the vacuum cleaner dummy?
Oh, thoughts on the vacuum cleaner dummy?
Yep.
0 out of 10 was not fooled.
What?
I think it was a real person.
You didn't like vacuum cleaner dummy?
I mean, I liked him. I didn't think he was a real person.
Okay.
The trick wouldn't have worked on me.
And okay, that's fair. And all of the
Actually, I thought about it when they were wheeling vacuum cleaner dummy toward the house. I was thinking like, man, these kids are sacrificing. I'm like, that looks like a cool pair of shoes. You're sacrificing your shoes. You're sacrificing your cool jacket. Like, come on.
They even sacrificed the mask.
Yeah. How dare they?
And so, like,
The mask that
however,
was driven over.
it adds to the aesthetic. And they also all the cough syrup that they stole.
Yeah, that was funny. I love how the scene when Chowder is stealing the cough syrup. He's just, I guess nobody notices. He's just like stuffing them into his shirt and like bumbling his way through the door.
And like
a lot of the running animations in this were so funny. When what's his name? Skull. Reginald.
Oh yeah.
When he leaves the diner.
Kind of looks like he pooped himself a little bit.
Yeah, he's like hustling. I don't understand.
The skull shuffle. Yeah, he.
The skull shuffle.
You don't see his character for all that long, but there's something really goofy and funny about him. And his mustache looks like 2 chocolate stripes.
Yeah. It's like if he wasn't so cringed, I'd say make a spin-off movie about him, but he's just a little too cringe.
I mean, the graphic novel that came out with the movie takes place before, and it's when Skull and Bones were in a band together.
Oh, that's funny.
Which is, I mean, Skull is like the least punk rock looking dude.
Yeah. But I mean, he's got the nickname Skull,
That's
so
true.
he got it somewhere, I guess.
Let's see what I got. Oh, so do you think it holds up in comparison to like the time back then being 2006 compared to around now? For like some context, I believe Polar Express came out in 2005 and Coraline came out in
Okay.
I think 2007. So those are
Mm-hmm.
like the big animated movies. Oh, and Happy Feet came out the same year. So
Okay.
there's a bit of context for animation
Yeah, I
wise and stuff.
honestly, I don't know, like maybe just because I am more used to more recent stuff. I haven't watched those movies in a long time. I do remember Polar Express being like really beautiful, like a really great looking movie, and like the style of this movie is awesome, but like I don't know, I guess some of the textures or whatever just looked a little plain compared to what I'm used to.
Yeah.
But once again, that's probably just the age thing. I mean, if you watch like the first Toy Story now, back then it was like bonkers, and now it's like, okay, this is an old movie. Like, so it definitely, I guess, aged, but definitely the characters, the like goofiness of the characters and how they're written, and the actual story itself aged well. I think it's definitely still a good story, entertaining.
Yeah. And it was and I think it still is the first and only motion capped movie to feature an entirely original script. Which is crazy
Yeah,
that there hasn't been another one since 2006.
yeah, that's really interesting. And this was, I mean, I don't actually know, was this very successful in theaters?
I think it had a budget of like 75 million and I think it made like either 110 or 150. So it made it back at least. And
Yeah, okay.
it's definitely not a cult classic. So it
Yeah,
just
it's not a cult
existed.
classic. Yeah, so it's just like, your classic successful movie. And I see that, yeah.
It's
Although
a
there's definitely a lot to like, I don't know. It seems like there's a lot thrown in there for it to be a cult classic almost in the future. Like
mhm.
get that status at some point.
I'll make it get there at some point.
Yep, there you go.
I'm doing my best. I've been
Yeah.
advocating the movie for years.
Get a movie showing at your local movie theater. And, like,
Oh, when all this is over,
the
I'd like to do that.
the dream. Yep, that'd be good.
Okay, let's see. Oh, are there certain parts of the movie that you wish they took out, or certain things that you wish they would add for more explanation, or just so on? Because the movie is an hour and a half, so there's either room to take some stuff
It,
out to make it shorter, or put stuff in.
I mean, I definitely feel like it could have been longer for sure. Um, I wish it showed a bit more of, oh, what's her name? The house.
Oh,
What was the
Constance?
house? Constance, yeah. I wish they did more to like show the good side, because other than the fact that she was trapped in a cage, there was nothing to like why was Nevercracker in love with her,
Yeah.
you know? So like the something to show that she was not just a mean, terrible person. Like
Yeah.
something to show that she was awesome.
Yeah, because they sort of give you a bit of backstory to work with to make you empathize with her because she was tormented her whole life. But
Yeah,
they
exactly.
don't also give you a whole lot else to work with that makes you be like she didn't deserve that. I mean, she didn't in
Yeah,
any mean, but you know.
she didn't. But yeah, but like it would have been nice if there was maybe just another scene or two between when Nevercracker saves her and she goes crazy on those kids. If there was just a little bit more time between, even just a little like sweet montage of them going on a date or something, like
Yeah, because pretty much
something to.
the only other little bit you get is when the kids first get into the house and there's a couple pictures on the wall of them at like
Yeah,
different locations, but yeah, that's about it.
yeah. Um, I thought that the police officers were funny, but just like a little too goofy.
Okay.
like it brought me out of the movie a little bit because they were just so goofy when the the rookie officer like pulls out his loaded gun just randomly in the passenger seat. It's like, oh gosh. And he's just like doing all the goofy rolls all over the place, like, oh, super cops. It's like, yeah, it's funny, but it was just a little much.
Yeah.
They could have been a little more. They still could have been the same, like, oh yeah, kids, right? Oh yeah, this house is eating people. Like they could have still done the same thing. Just been a little bit less goofy.
Okay. Yeah. That's totally reasonable.
Taking me out of the story, because also it was goofiness, but it wasn't even like super funny, a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, yeah, the other funny stuff, the other characters I think were perfect level of like serious and funny. Chowder I thought was great.
Yeah. I really like that the way they, because I've been having to watch a lot of interviews and stuff of people working on the movie. And they mentioned that they want to focus mostly on the characters first than anything else. So do you think the characters were well developed enough for them to be interesting?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think like definitely interesting, but making me wish I knew more about them, I guess. Like they just did a little bit more backstory on really everyone. Like what, Jenny was the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just I don't know, a little bit more about her other than like she only showed up when she was trying to sell the candy, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
There was just a little bit more to make everyone like her before. Yeah.
And
I definitely think this could have been a 2-hour long movie.
Yeah, especially because the pacing at the end of the movie, it ramps up really, really fast.
It ramps up really fast. It becomes an action movie, like, very quickly. And,
Yeah.
like, everything changed. It was like this small, like, this slow build up of a bunch of the characters, and then near the end of the movie, it's like, bam, everyone, paradigm shift, character change completely. Like, there was like 1 second where Nevercracker was evil, and then the next where he's completely switched and he's a good guy now. Like, there could have been a bit more of a, you can see in his head when it happens, I guess.
Yeah, because I think what a lot of the sort of theory is with it is because he did steal the ambulance, because he was the one that drove it back.
Oh, gotcha.
People theorize that he realized that the house is by itself, and he's not going to be able to stop it from doing stuff, so he has to get out of the hospital as soon as possible, and then he realizes that the kids already know everything.
Yeah.
So that's like the sort of turning point. It's not inherently explained, though, and it wasn't until, I mean, this entire time of watching it that I even noticed that he stole the ambulance in the first place.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't notice that either. I thought it was weird that he got dropped off back at home by the ambulance.
yeah.
Because I'm like, usually if you're leaving the hospital, you'd have to take some other means of transportation back home, but I didn't. Yeah, there was no driver.
Mm-hmm. And then, what do you think about like the last actiony bit of the movie? Do you think it was like done pretty good? Like all pacing stuff aside before that, if we're just putting that entire last bit on its own, what do you think?
It was alright. It could have had more to it. I don't know. It seemed like it was like the whole movie seemed a little too contained, I guess. Like it was all contained in like a 3-block radius.
Mm-hmm.
And just because of the like area that they fought was right behind their home, it just seemed like it could have, I don't know. There could have been a cool chase scene there or something.
Yeah, rather than it sort of being just that back alley section.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
like
it was definitely like honestly I think it was like one of the lowest parts of the movie, but it was still good.
Yeah. And then I can also agree with I would like wishing the chasing scene and stuff would go on. And it's also like having to realize that because they have the entire neighborhood was rendered the entire time.
Yeah.
So like having to think of how much more it would cost and stuff scale wise, but in like in a perfect world, oh yeah, that would be so much cooler to see it like chasing stuff down the street and maybe like getting to like some houses and whatnot.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Oh,
Well,
it's all good.
definitely too, like, you know, you could probably make the argument that it was like, oh, it was just like kids playing or something, just because of how little outside interference there was.
Yeah.
This was like Halloween afternoon, I guess, and like nobody noticed this rampaging
hmm
house.
I know there was
Any of the
a
times, nobody noticed the house.
couple scenes I know that they had to sort of cut, which involved when they during like the chase scene, it was like people in the neighboring houses like looking outside and noticing, but
Yeah,
due to like how hard it would have been to like get the animation stuff right, they had to cut them. But
yeah, yeah,
something like that would have made kind of a lot of a difference because yeah, there's no one else. The cast is like super super small, and
yeah,
like there's no influence from anyone else really in the neighborhood.
yeah. It's like, oh, two police officers went missing, and nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Bones doesn't have any family because he went missing, and nobody cares.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess the time from the officers going missing to them blowing up the house is probably a matter of like a couple hours at most.
I guess, but still, I feel like police officers
Yeah,
aren't really
they'd
monitored
have to
enough
radio
to.
in.
Yeah.
And they
Police
mentioning that
officers radio in and say, yeah, we just got a report of 3 kids that are fighting a monster house. We're just gonna go tell them to chill out. And then they go, and then they don't radio back ever. It's a little sketchy.
yeah, because there is only one other person back at the station he mentioned, which was Judy.
Yeah, exactly. We need backup. We don't have backup. Get Judy.
Let's see. Oh, do you think this could be like a movie that could be revisited and potentially redone, either in a newer style of animation or live action, or even a sequel? Or do you think it's better just as the one-off and to leave it the way it is?
I think just because you wouldn't want to go straight to a sequel, I don't think, just because it would look so different, unless they did one of those, I don't know, like one of the, like, kind of like a remake, but in the same universe and in the future, like if they did like a, 2020 version of the film where it's 3 new kids, and then there's a point when, for whatever reason, they have to go to the Masters, and then it's these 3 kids that are adults or something.
Yeah.
But like a straight up sequel that takes place, 6 months after this movie or something with the same characters. I don't know. It didn't really leave any cliffhangers, and I liked that. I didn't notice any big cliffhangery things.
Yeah,
either,
no,
at least other than Bones crawling out, but like.
Yeah. They left everything pretty much like at rest, which I think was I think they ended it in probably the best possible way they could have.
Yeah, they did. They
Like,
really did. But I still had questions about it though. Like it still made me want to think about it because I wanted to know more about the characters. So.
Yeah. And I think that's also a good way to end like have the movie off is you're left thinking.
Yeah. Exactly. That's always what you want.
Except what sucks
But
is that there really isn't much else. Like what they have is pretty much everything that they have, and there's not a whole lot of information online about anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Because once again, this really was just like it was just like a movie. It was just like your solid, like good movie. There wasn't like, I mean, you said there was like a graphic novel or something that released with it.
Yeah, there was like a prequel sort of graphic novel that showed like Bones and Skull and stuff.
Yeah,
but I have
not, it's not a franchise.
No.
Like.
And I have yet to get my hands on the graphic novel, but it's kind of hard to find. So.
Yeah. Oh, you'll get it one day, I'm sure.
See if I can get it. Let's see. What else do I got here? Oh, do you think the animation holds up? It's a really like rough question, but this is like a preference one.
Yes and no. Like it wasn't like painful to watch or anything. I wasn't looking at it like bad, but I could tell that it was its age. I wouldn't have if you showed me this movie and said, "Oh, this new movie just came out in 2020. Watch it." I would have been like, "Okay, this animation is like bad." Like,
okay.
I would have been like, the story is like awesome, and the actual like art design of it is great, but the animation definitely you can tell it's older.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because I think using motion capture does you get pretty as real as it gets, but since the technology wasn't particularly amazing for the time, it doesn't come as smoothly as you might hope.
Yeah. It is so neat that they did it that way, though.
Yeah. And they had to get like all of the props and stuff they did on set were wireframes. So there was actually props there, but the way they had to shoot in like a warehouse building with like 200 cameras, and they all had the like motion cap balls on them.
Yeah.
So all of the props and like houses and stuff that they had as sets, all the cameras had to be able to see through them.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
And
I like it.
Do you like voice actor wise and stuff? Was there anyone that surprised you? I'm not sure if you know much of who the actual cast is.
I know Steve Buscemi was in it. I remembered that from, I think, you just talking.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know any of the other cast that was in there. I didn't know that, you had the Nick Cannon Kevin James combo as the officers. I think that was funny. It fit their characters, I guess, because they were supposed to just be goofy characters.
Yeah, and then Jake Gyllenhaal's sister is the babysitter. And DJ's voiced by Mitchell Musso from Hannah Montana, if you ever watched that as a kid.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, like, Kathleen Turner is a big name, but I don't know if you know her from much.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't in a huge role either.
No. But some people are surprised to see that, like, the casting is surprisingly big for what it was, so.
Yeah. No, I thought the performances were all pretty good. It definitely is one thing that, like, when not even as much just the voice acting is bad, but when the writing for the dialogue is bad, it always bugs me, and I didn't notice that at all in this movie.
Yeah, that's super true.
Yeah, it all seemed pretty, like, well delivered and well written.
Like it didn't feel like an adult was writing lines for like a teenager, like a lot of things have, where you can really clearly tell that they're trying really hard to make it sound like something a teenager might say. But in this case, it felt like kids being kids, and I thought that they did that part like super well.
Young kids being kids.
Yeah. This was before like kid actors were inherently known to be really good.
Yeah, it was definitely, a lot of the jokes you could tell that were, in there for kids that weren't funny. It was like, okay, I get it, because these kids would say that.
Yeah. And then there's the couple of random product placement things, which you might not have noticed because they actually did a decent job of product placement and didn't put it super in your face.
Yeah. I don't think I really noticed any.
Okay. I think the only
the Wilson basketballs.
Yeah. That's the most obvious one, and then the other one was Mountain Dew, I think. But that was like it as far as product placements go.
Was the Mountain Dew the pee?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And then the babysitter saying no more Mountain Dew for you guys.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting pretty close to the end here, so it's probably a good time to discuss what your rating for the movie is this time around.
Oh, well, clearly, this is a 10 out of 10 film. I mean, you can't say anything other. Like, it's a classic. This is the beginning of the cult following, right here.
We're starting something good.
We're starting something good. Hashtag Monster House on Twitter, guys. Come on.
I'm trying to get in contact with the writers and stuff, but I have like no real good idea of how to do that because I can't find Dan Harmon's email, I can't find the director's email, and I don't want to tweet at them nonstop.
Yeah. You should just DM them.
I can't. They don't have their messages turned on.
Ah, damn.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Damn. Big shame.
So your score jumps up 4 points from you remember watching it before?
Yeah.
All right.
The one thing I think I did remember the most from when I watched it when I was a kid was them being trapped in the back of the police car while it's getting eaten by the house.
Oh yeah, that is a really good part.
Yeah, that was good.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually probably a good time to call it there. I think with both parts combined, we're at like 30 minutes. So
there we go. Perfect.
Is there anything you want to plug for this year episode?
No, I don't think so. I've been streaming sometimes on Twitch.
I can drop your Twitch in the descriptions and stuff if you would like.
Yeah, I might as well.
All right.
That's the only thing I can think of.
All right, that sounds good. Any parting quotes to end us off with?
No, just a 10 out of 10 movie, cult classic in the making. Hashtag Monster House on Twitter. Here we go.
All right, there we go. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.